Hi again, welcome back, Attorney Steve Vondran, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Litigation Whiteboard. Today we're talking about constitutional law. Pardon me, pardon this, pardon that. Everybody's doing more pardons than anybody could ever even think of anymore. So Biden's issuing all these pardons. Trump just came out with some new pardons, January 6th insurrection pardons. Biden's got his out the door last minute pardons of his family and the January 6th committee. So pardons are flying everywhere. I got some of the key questions here that I think most people want to know. Without further ado, let's head right into it here. All right, litigation whiteboard. We're going to skip that fancy step today. But today I got my Constitution book out. The Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the Constitution. This is the book that got me through law school. Look, this is how big the Constitution is, you guys. It's not that much. Easy to read. If you want to learn more about the Constitution, pick it up, read it. Now, we're looking at enumerated powers. We're talking about the power of the president to issue, or I should say, use the proper word, grant pardons and reprieves, okay? So the magic word is, under the Constitution, the president has the power to issue or grant is a specific word used. I'm going to say that's a term of art. To grant reprieves, which is kind of just a delay in a sentencing. You're going to be delayed. You're going to be sentenced next month. You're going to death penalty next month. I'm going to issue a reprieve. I'm going to give you more time, or I should say, and so they can grant reprieves and pardons only in offenses against the United States, and it doesn't work in terms of impeachment. I'll put the law right up there for you. So if somebody's being impeached, you can't pardon them from being impeached and keep them in office, okay? That's Article 2, Section 2, crash course right there. So let's take a deep dive at some of the key questions that we're seeing. All right. Now, one, does this apply only to actual convictions? First thing I see everybody saying is, well, pardon means there was a crime, there was an arrest, an indictment, a court case, trial case, a guilty plea, or a conviction at trial. Not necessarily true. We have case law. If you remember, Nixon got into some trouble with Watergate, with snooping around in some files or having his cronies do that. When he had to resign, if you recall, he had to resign. Next up was Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford pardoned him, even though there was no conviction.
Well, I am not a crook.
So there is case law on that. I believe there was also some case law with a whiskey rebellion where they pardoned a bunch of whiskey rebellion people, even though there was not a conviction. Hanging. There was also, I think, the draft dodgers. I think maybe it was Jimmy Carter that, correct me if I'm wrong, that pardoned draft dodgers back in Vietnam. So these were just people. There weren't crimes or anything going on. Joe Biden just kind of basically did the same thing with the J6 committee and his family. You're saying, well, if there was any wrongdoing, then they're pardoned. Okay, so that is kind of what we're talking about. They're calling this preemptive pardons, okay, or blanket pardons. As you see here, here's a look at what a pardon looks like. It's a presidential document, as you can see, really nice looking. And these pardons can grant you either grant you a pardon from specific offenses, or it can be more general in nature. So the president has the ability to sort of customize the pardon to meet the terms. It can name specific individuals. Okay, it can name specific crimes. So they can vary. It's up to the president what the president wants to do. And again, that's grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, but not impeachments. You can't pardon impeachments, okay? So there is there is precedent, I should say, that you can issue a blanket pardon or a preemptive pardon. However, this has never actually been tested in court, to my knowledge. It's never been tested in court, so we don't know. I think we're going to see some constitutional challenges here up to SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States. Hold on, I'm pretty sure we're probably going to see something on one or both sides of the fence. I'm sure that fight is coming. So for now, there is precedent that it does not have to be a conviction that you're pardoning. That's what you're seeing today. That's what's raising so many issues and questions on the internet. Next, this is only effective reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States. That means federal crimes, federal statutes, federal laws. Does not apply to state laws. So if an attorney general in a state wants to prosecute a particular person who has been pardoned, they have the right to do that under state law only. However, I will say that I do believe that will raise some preemption issues. Federal law usually preempts state law. That's usually what we're looking at. So you might be some problems there if you see an attorney general trying to do something like that on either side of the fence. Next, military tribunals. Now, some people are saying, well, wait a second. If somebody committed the treason or some act like that that falls under the military laws are separate. They have their own separate military justice. They can they have all kinds of powers over the military. So if it's something along those lines, I know there was a general in there that was also pardoned, things like that. There is a question. Are they still open for military tribunals? And that's an open question. I don't have the answer for you, okay? Also, when you get a pardon, now, the reason I have grant here is because usually under the law, if you think about your house, you grant your deed to somebody else. You're the grantor. Here, I'm granting you the deed to the house. Thank you. I am the grantee. Oh, nice. Thank you. That gets recorded in a recorder's office. So in our law, we usually consider grant of something, giving something to a grantee who accepts. And that's a big question we're having right now, because when you have preemptive pardons or blanket pardons with the type of language that we're seeing, if in fact there was any crimes committed against the federal government, DDD, those are pardoned. So that being that that's open, there is a question on that as to what that actually means. And do you have to accept the pardon? Or can you say, well, I'm going to wait and see, the pardon's on the books. If somebody then comes after me, then I'll accept it, and then I'll say, I'll take my pardon. Thank you very much. It was sitting out there for a year or so, but I will now take it. So there is some question about, does it have to be accepted? Some of the people in January 6th Select Committee are saying, I don't need it. I didn't do anything wrong. I don't need it. So that's going to be a question. Do pardons have to actually be accepted? Why? There is consequences. If you accept a pardon, you waive your Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination. So, in other words, you don't have the right to say, I plead the Fifth, throw out the key, I'm not talking, sorry. You waive the Fifth. That means Congress could call you in and put you under oath. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes, I do. Now you have to be truthful. If you lie, then it would be a perjury. It would probably be a new crime. So there are things that come with accepting the reprieve or the pardon in particular, okay? So you waive your Fifth, now you have to come testify, you can't hide, you can't say I'm not going to talk. That could get interesting. That could get very interesting. And finally, can you pardon yourself? A lot of people talk, well, why didn't Biden pardon himself? Why didn't Trump pardon himself? So I look at the word grant, and I say grant again is here, I'm going to grant to you, why thank you, I accept. A pardon, how nice. To me, you can't do that to yourself. Here, Steve, Attorney Steve, I grant you a pardon. Thanks, Attorney Steve, I accept. That doesn't really make sense. It's not really how we have used that term in our legal system. So I don't think you can pardon yourself, but I don't know. Some of these things may get tested in the future, but I think there's going to be a whole lot of stuff going on in this area. I think some law is going to be clarified. And as always, I mean, the Constitution is it's a pretty thin book. So not everything was provided for in this book. That's where SCOTUS comes in, Supreme Court of the United States. Somebody raises the issue, they hear the issue an opinion, and there you have it, okay? So for now, just realize there's lots of questions. This is the general water cooler knowledge you need here from Attorney Steve, bringing you the Constitutional Article 2, Section 2 crash course on Pardon Me. I hope you have enjoyed this. General legal information only, not legal advice. Feel free to share this video on your social media networks. Hit that like button right over there. Hit that like button. And thank you for following us. Don't forget to subscribe. All right, have a great day now. Got to run. We'll talk to you soon. Attorney Steve out. Bye now.